Hi, everyone. Welcome back to the Paralegal Freelance Lounge podcast. Jacqueline Foster here. Before we jump into the amazing coffee chat I had with Katie Burke of Katie Burke Paralegal Group, or Burke Paralegal Group, excuse me, I wanted to let you know it's finally here. It is finally here. Freelance Paralegals USA is going to be open and launching next Tuesday, March 19th. We're doing a big event on LinkedIn and on Facebook. So if you're on either group, if you're following me on LinkedIn, if you're in Facebook or both, go and find the event and join it. Otherwise, I'm going to link it up below if Facebook and LinkedIn aren't your thing. Make sure that you are subscribing to the launch notifications. The link is in the show notes. Even if you are attending on live, go sign up so I can send you a replay and you have all the details. Now, Freelance Paralegals USA, I was formerly referring to as Flex Paralegals USA. Really, really quick. I know you might be thinking I'm all over the place, and that is very, very true. I am in a new business model. This is something absolutely unfamiliar to me. Over the last 4 years, I've been doing things the same way. I've been operating the agency. We've been recruiting. We've been doing one-on-one services. We've been doing that for so long that this is a huge and new and terrifying in the best way possible endeavor for me. And there's been a lot of back and forth and perfecting and refining and surveying people and paralegals and asking attorneys, my clients, what features do you want? What do you need? And there's always this little holdup in the name. The name has changed, I want to say 5 times over the course of the year. And I had a last minute decision when I talked to one of the most trusted business mentors of mine. She's absolutely amazing. I'm actually going to give her a shout out here, Miss Nicole Grinnell of Boson. She's a I believe three-time founder, business founder, entrepreneur. And I reached out to her and I said, something's not jiving. What do you think about X? And she's like, yes. It's so simple. It's so descriptive. It's exactly everything this platform needed to be. So Freelance Paralegals USA is launching on Tuesday. Now, next Tuesday, the 19th of March. Now, I know this episode we're about to get into is quite long, but that's okay. You can watch it on your way to work in the morning or listen on your way home and break it up. So I hate to add more time to this already long coffee chat. However, I really do want to just share a little story about, because this is so emotional for me that Freelance Paralegals USA is finally launching. So I've had this business transition in mind since the day I opened Jacqueline Foster Paralegal Group, LLC. And this is important to mention for anyone listening that is thinking about or trying to, or is currently in a business in the online space. Over these last 4 years, I've built a targeted, very specific network of over 10,000 legal professionals. This is ranging from attorneys to paralegals to legal consultants, assistants, legal recruiters, all the things. 10,000 people over 4 years. And a lot of those 4 years, truly, I heard crickets. And every week I'd ask myself if those daily efforts to expand my network, to grow my following would actually pay off. And while my original company and the way of doing things has been continuing to grow and thrive, I just had 5 discovery calls this week. It's not like we can just shut down the agency overnight. We're still thriving on referrals, on our old content marketing. Like I always say, that content marketing will pay you back year over year. It's always there. But I knew I wanted something different personally, not because I love my work in my agency, but that there's a driving passion for me, a driving passion to take everything I've learned through my freelancing journey, starting from a struggling new mom, nearly losing her house, and all the things freelancing changed for my life, there's this passion to teach and guide other paralegals. And I do that in my paralegal roadmap, freelance paralegal roadmap course, and my free content, this podcast, I'm guiding. But I wanted to take that one step further. And it just made sense to give paralegals this platform that they can charge their own rates. They don't have to get a cut. You know, the agency's charging 60, but the paralegal is only making 30 per hour. I wanted to eliminate that desperation for paralegals in the freelance space and just make a platform to make it a reality for paralegals across the United States. And over these last 9 months, as I've been developing the coaching business and perfected that signature roadmap course for the paralegals, things change so fast. And Freelance Paralegals USA, the vision beyond the vision that I created in 2020 for myself, that long stretch vision, fell into place like a puzzle. And of course, the agency will continue to operate for now, as you don't dissolve all development overnight, like I just stated. But I am ready and I am here to be pouring everything I have into my freelance paralegal coaching business, using and leveraging this directory, this one of a kind. I can't wait for you to get into it. My test users are in there. They're like, this is amazing, how robust. Like, I can demonstrate who I am. I have my own profile. It's like the social media for freelance paralegals, truly. And to have attorneys come in there and be able to refine their searches and find you specifically, it is going to make this so possible for you. So you don't have to attend the founders event, although at the founders event, I'm going to be running through a demo of the site, opening it up for questions. You guys can ask on, on demand right there. I'm here to answer them. But nonetheless, you don't have to attend the founders event to be able to sign up for the directory. So that being said, if you can't make the March 19th at 11 Central Time Founders event, make sure you are subscribing to get the notifications that the platform is ready to go. You can do that in the show notes below. So, point of all of that, though, this whole story that I took more time on this very lengthy podcast episode to say is, do something every day your future self will be thankful for. Again, I heard crickets for 4 years. Well, I didn't hear crickets for 4 years, but a lot of the times it felt like I was hearing crickets for 4 years. But every day my connections grew and they grew and they grew and they grew. And now it's possible. And I can look back and thank that person that went live on her Facebook page, even though nobody attended, or posted something, a blog on LinkedIn, even though nobody read it. I'm thanking her, because without her efforts every single day, even when she heard crickets, I would not be launching this amazing platform today. And again, also to you guys, thank you for being here. My amazing podcast subscribers. Like, I cannot even fathom, I can't wrap my head around how much this podcast has grown over the last 40 episodes. It's incredible to me. So thank you guys so very much for your support. Let me know if you have any questions about the founders event or you want to reach out to me directly. All of my socials are also in the link below. All right. Enjoy my coffee chat with Miss Katie Burke. And as always, until next week, have great days ahead of you. All right. Well, Katie, thank you so much for joining me today on the Paralegal Mastery Launch podcast. We have known each other for quite a while, so I'm actually really excited to just catch up today and see what you've been up to. Why don't you start? I know you own Burke Paralegal Group. You're a successful probate and family law paralegal, but why don't you tell me a little bit about your journey through being a paralegal, going independent, and now the agency sort of that you've started and all those fun things?
Yeah, so I do own Burke Paralegal Group. I have been in the legal industry for over 10 years, with being a paralegal like in office for probably 10 years. So, oh gosh, I can't believe that. Okay, so yeah, I've been in the legal industry longer. I don't even want to count it. And what really hit me was I was driving, 35 minutes to work, from work, things like that. And I had a son in T-ball. I had a 2-year-old who was in physical therapy. So luckily my job was very understanding and completely okay with the sporadic schedule I had to create for myself.
Right.
But it's still work is piling up. My paychecks are getting smaller because I can't sit at a desk for 40 hours a week with all these other commitments going on. So I thought, oh my gosh, there has to be like a different way. Like, there's no way I am busting myself just for, 20 hours a week.
Right.
So I started to supplement my income with like some freelancing work with an attorney I knew at the time in probate, because probate's such a small niche that, you kind of like, I was lucky enough to be able to know these attorneys and they trusted me to go, out of office and help them remotely.
Right.
So I was very lucky in the area to where I got started. And then so I was doing that while working in office. And then I was like, I can make this work. Post COVID, a lot of firms knew how to make digital work. I said, I could do this. I started in 2021. So it was right when things were opening back up. And I said, why not stay home?
Right.
Just out of the comfort, no commute, things like that. So we did that. I freelanced for a while. And then, interestingly enough, I went to one of my friends from high school. When her daughter's second birthday, we went there, had the birthday party, and there was an attorney there looking for a contract paralegal. And I was so take your business cards everywhere because I
Right.
did not. And I was like, this is the most random place, but yes, take them everywhere. And so I connected with her the following Monday and she brought me on. I worked with her remotely. I did go into her office 1 day a week when I first started, just because I was kind of getting the idea of what I wanted to do, where I wanted to set my boundaries, things like that. And so I did go in once a week with her to get through her mail, things like that. And then I don't know, it just worked. After that, I felt comfortable. I took the leap of faith and quit my in-office job. And then things just grew from there. My client immediately after that was family law, and she had over 40 hours a week consistently. And again, am so lucky that I connected with her right off the bat because she really allowed me to grow while I was still bringing in a substantial income.
Right. Right.
Um, Burnout happened, and so my husband was like, "You need to bring someone else on." And I think hiring was my first, like, I don't know if I'm ready for this, but I did it, and I think that, I wouldn't be where I'm at if I didn't make that first choice to hire someone.
Okay, so you hired your first paralegal on that third client, the family law with all that 40-hour work because did you still have at the time the attorney you had known as well as the one you connected with and had the business card? You had 3 clients at that time and you brought in a paralegal to support you?
Yes. Yep.
Okay.
So when I started with my third client, it was originally like 20 hours a week because she had someone else on. And then she got busier and busier, trusted us more, gave us more work. I could show her what we could do.
Mhm.
And then I brought someone on that one. And then as soon as I brought someone on that one, I brought on another client on like a project management one-time basis, creating their almost like case management system,
Yep.
doing their move, things like that. Not physically, but remotely.
Yep.
And so that was really when I was like, okay, I have to bring people in. I cannot do this myself. Otherwise, I'm just gonna kind of stop where I'm at and never move forward.
Oh, totally. And that is so relatable. I can remember when I first started freelancing, it was that same like 3, 4 clients where I started to feel so burned out. I was crying at night. I had a little baby at home and like my husband, worked long hours. And I'm just like, I didn't expect this. It's like I really wanted the money, the success, and it was amazing charging my own rates and making great money. But at the same time, that work life balance just was not there whatsoever. But I know how balancing and figuring out a seamless integration of bringing in new people into your reputation can be. It was really scary for me to start bringing in paralegals and then I found that The paralegals I brought in were smarter than me, which worked wonderfully. So I kind of want to back up there a little bit because I know that's the stickiest spot, especially for paralegals. Most of them have to start out solo. It's not super common where we jump right into the agency model or into a team model. We're starting solo. So I want to kind of pick apart with you, like what that looked like, how you made that selection, how you found that paralegal, and how the two of you, from a streamlined workflow standpoint, worked together on your client's stuff.
So it was very scary. And I will say that some of the people I brought in did not work out at all. And I end up creating more work for myself, which I know is like a growing thing and it's inevitable. You're not going to find superstars with everybody. And it just so happened that I did bring on like a short-term like office manager almost was my first hire. So I
Okay.
could focus on the paralegal while she did the invoicing, client contact, things like that. And then I quickly realized like that's still too much for me. I'm working till 1 a.m. on my couch, getting up at 5, and it's
Yeah.
just like you said, the work-life balance wasn't there. Then you're like, what's the point?
Yeah, exactly. You might as well just go back to an office where you're like, okay, I could put boundaries up and work 9 to 5.
Yeah, and then the liability's gone, and it's just so much
Yeah,
easier.
right,
And
right,
I
right.
fantasized about that so many times in the beginning.
Yeah, definitely. And I know, and that's why I want to talk about this so much with other paralegals that have done it, because I think that happens. I don't think a lot of paralegals truly go into freelancing believing they're going to be successful. So they didn't anticipate this problem, the problem of being too busy and then burning out and being like, well, this is no better than working a full-time job. I'm going to go back to the office. But to have some proof on how paralegals were able to navigate through that and then can learn from those paralegals so less paralegals get into that sticky spot. So you hired the office manager. That still wasn't enough, just even to take off the admin work off of your plate. I can imagine that was probably very part-time. How did you bring in that first paralegal to actually start taking on paralegal work from you? Like, what did that look like logistically?
So I first went on Indeed because I really didn't know where to look. And the good thing about having a remote company is you get to widen the pool and bring in talents from all over the place.
Right.
So I went on Indeed, I found somebody, and it was a great beginning. Like it was fantastic. We brought her on. The training was really shaky on my end because it was the first time I trained somebody and onboarded someone. So it was like we were both learning at the same time. And once she got it, she got it, and it was great. And she did great with this attorney. But then I think you have to be built for remote work because it seemed like after a while it slipped
Yep.
and she was rarely at her desk. Things were getting missed. I was still staying up late at night correcting work product because my reputation, I didn't want this, example, an exhibit list that had confidential work product all over it. I was not going to send to the attorney. So
Mhm.
it was towards the end, I think she kind of wanted more remote, but didn't actually want to do the work. And that's just things you find, that's a personality thing. And I unfortunately had bad luck of then firing my first hire.
Yeah, which is
So
never fun.
no, it's not. And luckily by that time though, one project, the move and everything was over. So I could jump back on for the time being. So I could really take my time and look for someone. I went back on Indeed. I took my time interviewing a ton of candidates. I really knew what I was looking for at that point based off of what didn't work with the first one. And so I had, my questions,
Yeah.
give me specific examples. Have you worked from home? Do you have a setup? What's your day look like? I knew how to fine tune those questions to get the answers that I wanted. And so I brought someone else on, fantastic, and it has worked out great since.
Okay, so he or she is still with you to this day?
Yes.
Awesome. See,
Yes.
so tell me a little bit about your team right now. Like, who do you have? How, I mean, obviously don't have team names, but like how many people, how are you operating as a team together? Are you going full blown agency mode where you're kind of stepping out of the paralegal world, or are you guys working on all your client work together?
So both. So I would love to step outside of the paralegal world, but you know how you just attach yourselves to specific clients and you
Yep.
just like have this control factor, and like she works better with me. She's gone through a couple other paralegals and they haven't been a good, match. So I kind of just stuck with her. My she was my third client. She's been
Mhm.
with me for a long time. We work well together. As much as I would like to step out of that, I think that I would miss it. I mean, every other week I'm like, oh geez, like I don't want to do this anymore.
Right.
But that I want to stay with her. I want to keep my hand in the paralegal work because I love it. And then I've just been with her. She recently went to a different industry as well and kind of brought me along with her there, which is more of like an administrative, like COO role rather
Sure.
than paralegal role. So it was like new for me, but they can kind of intersect. So I stay with her. But as far as everyone else goes, I I bring on employees and contractors.
Okay.
So just depending on the client. So I have some local clients and some, I go from Michigan all the way to California.
Sure.
I have some local ones. If they're working on more than one client, I tend to keep them as an employee so I can dictate more of like their schedule, provide resources, have them use my programs, things like that.
What have you found, if you had to pick one thing, what have you found to be the absolute most challenging part of scaling your freelance business?
I would have to say marketing myself and networking.
Yep.
I think it has a lot to do with I am an introvert. Once
Sure.
if I'm getting more comfortable, but like you and I have talked a few times,
Yep.
so I'm more comfortable talking with you. If I were to jump on with somebody who I'd never talked to before, I would be a lot more like shut down and nervous and
Mhm.
worried about what I say.
Yeah.
So when I do this networking and putting myself out there, I'm outside of my comfort zone 100%. And
Yeah.
I try and do better each time because I know it's not going to happen overnight. But I also have, ADHD, so my mind goes a
Me
million,
too.
million miles a minute. And
Me
I just feel
too.
like if I keep talking, people are going to be like, ooh.
Yep. Me too. And the funniest thing about the ADHD, it's like, I swear I am meeting more and more people, entrepreneurs specifically, that have ADHD. And I'm like, there's a connection there. There is a connection there for that type of brain mindset, that type of way the brain works. Because it was funny when sometimes I get some feedback in my videos and stuff that I do, and I'll be the first to admit it. I go down rabbit holes and I'm just blah, 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 and I talk so fast. People are like, slow down. And it was like I was getting feedback like that so much. I finally went back to my doctor because I stopped medicating myself when I had my son. Obviously, you can't be on ADHD medication pregnant, and I never got back on anything. And now I'm back on stuff and I'm feeling a little bit better. So that was kind of a squirrel moment, but we have that in common, the ADHD. I totally get it.
That's so funny because I was talking to one of my friends who owns a bookkeeping company. And so I try and also like network with other entrepreneurs in my area. Like I
Yep.
have a standing monthly call with Laura Horchert from Tennessee Paralegals once a month where we talk about our pain points, our goals, what works, what doesn't, to just kind of keep ourselves accountable.
Mhm.
But I was talking to my friend who owns a bookkeeping company, and I was all over the place. I was just boom, 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 boom. Like I'm always wanting to start a new idea before finishing one. And like if I hit one slump in my company, I'm like, okay, well, what else can I do? Like
Pivot, get out of it. Yeah.
how could I pivot without actually having to overcome this hurdle? And so I told her, I was like, it's just, I let my squirrel run wild sometimes. Like
Yeah.
I just let it go. I brain dump, I get it all out of my system. And then I look at it the next day and think, okay, no, that's not gonna work.
Yep. My
So it's
Go
all over
ahead.
the place.
I get it. And my best piece of advice for that is, and it's unsolicited. I know you didn't ask for this advice, but I'm going to give it anyway, because this is what I really had to learn with that, because I deal with the same thing. And I still to this day have so much doubt that things will improve or things are going to, continue to do well. Or, I'll be sitting and being like, okay, I'm building this business, but is it going to be sustainable for 40 years? And then my brain starts like, going wild. And what I've learned in business is you definitely have to get a keen sense on when it's time to pivot or when it's time to stay consistent. 90% of it in the paralegal to lawyer to legal space is going to be staying consistent with consistent improvements. So that might look a little bit like getting yourself on a video and you're going to be awkward as all awkward when you first do it. I mean, I look back on my videos and I'm like, oh my God, I didn't even know how to talk to the camera. And you do a 1 minute video just about XYZ. And then you just over time, just constant little improvements. And obviously that goes into the marketing and the networking and the content, but it's just little time, like little bits every single time to improve yourself. And you'll get a little bit more confident with putting yourself out there. But that's where I look at it is 90% of the time a business doesn't need to pivot in a huge way. It just needs to stay consistent and continue to improve in that consistency. So again, I'm sorry, that's unsolicited
No,
advice.
no, no, I completely agree with you. I think that when I look at something and I'm like, I'd rather do this, it's because it's easier, but I need to stay on my path. And that ends up, that's usually what I choose because I bounce these ideas off of like my husband, my friends, and they're all like, no, like don't do that. You have to do this. And so
Right.
I do. I stay moving forward and then eventually do get over the hurdle. You always get over the hurdle.
You do.
It's
And
it's
with
hard sometimes.
it is hard. And with marketing, especially, like I was actually just on a group coaching call with some of my roadmap course members. And I told them that funny enough, like I'm going through the same things that I'm having to teach as far as it relates to marketing on LinkedIn to my paralegals, because I'm taking on Instagram and TikTok now because I'm trying to reach more paralegals, like, in general. And I've never really went those routes with the law firms too heavily. I just felt that they are on those platforms to market their own services. They're not there to consume other people's expertise. Granted, I did get a few clients off of Instagram and one time off of Twitter when I made literally one tweet, and I got a client. I'm like, okay, that had to have been a fluke because Twitter is, or X or whatever it's called, is not my thing. But it's so hard, for instance, on Instagram, when you hear crickets and more crickets, and you don't even get one like, and you get 3 views, and you get one like, and you get 3 views. And I'm like, so even there, I remember back in my early stages of entrepreneurship, listening to this podcast, obviously not legal related, and she had said, you have to keep showing up even when you hear crickets, because that's just the only way. It's just that consistency, right? But I get it. And you saying you're more of an introvert, I get that. Not wanting to go too hard. So getting back on track, that's been your most challenging, is the marketing and networking, which I think is really promising for paralegals to hear that your biggest challenge is something that all paralegals have apprehension around, which is that getting clients, marketing, networking. If I don't know how to get clients, like I'm not going to have a business. But you obviously have, even though that's your biggest challenge, managed to make this a full-time business plus hiring people. So what is working well for you on the client acquisition front of growing your business?
So mostly my clients have come from referrals of clients that I currently have. I cannot stress that enough. You want to keep those relations great. You want them on good standing. I, even though that I'm not the one working on these accounts, I still make myself available. I do my check-ins. I work with these attorneys just to keep my face in there, to keep my name in there. And I mean, they have sang praises, they have referred us out. And so that's where most of my clients come in. However, referrals can only go so far, especially in probate. Probate's so
Right.
small and such, and in one county, there can only be so many.
Right.
So that's where I'm going to next. I've had good luck, and this is completely outside my comfort zone again. I've had good luck with some like cold emails.
Mm-hmm.
But I like to stay away from that so that I don't get spammy because I
Yep.
don't want to get blacklisted. I don't want to get a bad reputation for contacting these attorneys unsolicited.
Yep. Totally get that.
So I did get a couple that way, but I have gone to like my local bar association and handed out cards. I am a member of like the probate committee, the family law committee of my local bar. I have gone to Clio Cloud Conference. So I've done these more like networking events
Yep.
where I hand out my card, and they're not going to call you right away. I'm going to say that they're not going to call you right away, but they're going to have your name. And then if you stay consistent by, keeping them up to date, putting yourself out there, friend their firm on Facebook, follow their group, get your algorithm going. They have these groups on LinkedIn that you can join, that are like-minded individuals that will like your post for you to change the algorithm to get you out there. And then if they consistently see your name and your face by showing up to these events, then they're going to call you.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that that is the biggest challenge because I am instant gratification. I
Same. Are we the same person?
I know. Why why don't we do this more often?
Right. Are we the same person? Did we just become best friends?
Yep.
Yeah.
So yes, I mean that is it. I get very discouraged very easily, and so I am working on that. But that's another challenge too, is I'm just so quick to no, that didn't work. I'm not gonna do it. But when I have stayed consistent, I have seen the results happen and it does make a difference. It's
Yeah.
not easy to do though.
No, it's not. And the thing to always remember too, as far as the content marketing, this is the thing with content marketing. It is a marathon. And meaning you will generate results quickly. What I am seeing as a theme in almost every freelance paralegal I talk to is they have the same start story, including myself, except I didn't know the attorney I started with. We connect. I mean, it was such a fluke thing connecting with that one attorney. And then, those next couple of attorneys were again just like fluke things that it seemed to happen to every paralegal. And they're like, okay, great. I'm getting a couple of clients. And then that referral starts building up. And your business is going to be heavily in the referral space for probably its first year, if not 2 years, which is okay. It's just honing in on that referral component of it and seeing how you can 10x your referral sources. So not just sticking with reaching out to attorneys, reach out to other professionals in the industry. I mean, there's companies that are coming in to do legal tech consulting for estate planning, paralegals or attorneys specifically, which what usually comes with estate planning, right? Probate. And might have that need, and you create like referral programs and you can 10x that referral. But while you're doing that, keep content marketing because year 3, year 4, you're going to start seeing that pay off. And it's not necessarily, oh my gosh, I have 10,000 followers on LinkedIn. Now I have this huge reach. It's not that. It's that over these years, you stuffed people into your sales cycle and you continued to stay relevant. And now these attorneys are coming up with a need and you're the first one of mind, or maybe they've saved your information somewhere to reach out to in the new year or in 6 months. And I mean, I can't tell you how many attorneys come to me and say they found me by searching a specific phrase, like how many hours should my paralegal bill per week, that I wrote like 3 years ago on my website. And they searched the very right thing that generated a result. And that's just where obviously I'm leaning into SEO conversation there, but it's content. It's creating content that's authority building that once you get, you're totally right. Referrals can only go so far. Granted, referrals can go very far, but you want to scale beyond that. We need to get more marketing going. And I think content marketing is the long-term investment that pays off year over year over year, double, triple, quadruple, 10xing. So you're right on point, those referrals. And let's back up to that what you said. Referrals and the way you treat your current clients is a form of marketing. And attorneys truly love to help other attorneys in their network. And they're not going to be like, oh, I don't want to help you. I'm not sending you her information. They do. They go to bar association meetings. They meet for cocktail hour. They meet and they say, oh, you're having this issue. You got to call Katie. And referrals to this day, that's the main thing that's fueling the growth of my business. So you are on point. You're on point. Don't pivot. Just keep doing what you're doing and then start investing in yourself by investing in that marketing.
Yes, I will say, the attorneys do, like you said, they love to help out because they also like to be the helper. You know what I
Right.
mean? Like attorneys want to be like, hey, they want to tell you what's working for them.
Right.
So they say, hey, this works for me. You should try them out. I mean, I just had a client of mine put my email out to, he teaches at a local university, a paralegal studies program.
Okay.
And so all of the attorneys that are in that paralegal studies program, and all of the professors, he blasted my email out for support. And because he's so happy with our services,
Mhm.
he's commented that, he feels like he's the only client we have and that we've really taken a lot off his shoulders so that he can grow and scale. And he's done more in his practice in the last 6 months than he has in the last 2 years, he said. So,
Wow.
like, it
Amazing.
makes a difference. It does. And we're really helping. And that's
Yeah.
kind of like why I started this too, to like go way, way back,
Yeah.
is that I've always worked in smaller law firms with solo practitioners. And I have seen these people who would succeed as solo practitioners if they could just bring on the support.
Mhm.
But at the time, they don't have the space. They are working out of their home. They don't have the money to cover all the overhead costs, a million different reasons. And I was thinking, there's no reason you shouldn't be able to succeed because there's not a spot there that, you know, hey, because you can't hire a part-time paralegal. You can't
Right.
really, because that paralegals are career, right? So
Yes. Correct.
if you want a good paralegal, you need to bring in a full-time. So by me coming in and saying, hey, I have this paralegal who can get 20 hours here, 20 hours there, I'm covering all of the overhead costs. You use them how much you need them. It'll even the playing field and you can operate the same as the big law firms, and just within your means and budget.
Right.
And I think that's been a game changer. Like one of my favorite clients, I don't play favorites, but one of my favorite
We
clients.
all play flavors. I know. We all have those favorite clients.
Yeah. Anyway, so she was able to move her entire practice home. So she's
Awesome.
been able to go to all of her kids' practices and meet. And it's been a game changer with the work-life balance. And so that's like one of my success stories that I always tell my clients during discovery calls. Like, it can happen. Like, you don't need to feel like you're doing it all. You don't have to experience the inevitable burnout. Like, that's why we're here. We're taking that off of you so that you can focus on being an attorney and
Yeah.
doing what you do best. You didn't go to school to
Run
make phone
business.
calls to these clients
Yep.
or to make sure your invoices get paid. Like, that's not why you went to school. Like,
Yep.
that's why we went to school. Let us handle it. Let us do the legal research, take things off of your plate.
Yeah, absolutely.
I
And
feel
you
like,
creating those case studies and those testimonials too. And what I really like hearing you say is you connected, and this is something so hard for me to teach in my roadmap course is it's not hard for me to teach. It's a big chunk of the course because it's so important. Everything you just said, you've connected your professional why. When I say professional, like your career why, not necessarily your financial goals why, but your professional side of your why directly to the unique problems that law firms are experiencing, solo attorneys are experiencing. And then you're putting those together and you're also creating case studies from that. So you're saying, these are the problems my ideal clients are having. I know this because I worked at these law firms and that's who your ideal client is. This is how I know we can come in and solve it. And I'm passionate about the reality of that solution. And then you're putting them together, and over time, your business is now creating case studies of proof. Like, I connected these things, and the more you get to showcase that in the form of referrals, because they're just going to say, "Hey, Katie changed the trajectory of my practice. This business did that for me." And also in your marketing, like, you get to talk from a storytelling standpoint of, this isn't just something I'm assuming will help a law firm. It is proving over time, every single time, these attorneys in these law firms are, it might not be an immaculate case study. It might just mean that the attorney is no longer behind on their docket. But those big, big stories of, like, look, she got to take her practice completely remote and she's supported, and, just keep sharing those stories, because you're doing a great job. It sounds like you have a very, very solid business that's just going to keep scaling. Just takes time. And to be honest, if anybody's hearing, and I don't know, I do know. I know a lot of people in business that might be listening to this. 2022 was a little, or 2023 was a little rough for everybody. I don't know what happened. Um, I have a lot of connections in the legal recruiting space. I have a lot of connections in, obviously, the freelance paralegal space in law firms. It was just tough. It was, everything slowed down. I don't know if it was the adjustment to the economy. I'm not an economist. I'm not going to dissect it too hard. But everybody, I feel, took a little bit of a step back in 2023 and said, is business ownership going to be sustainable for me? And now it seems, and I mean, do you feel this way? 2024 is really starting on a good foot as far as business goes.
Yeah, I do. I think you and I spoke in the middle of
Yep.
2023 about the same thing because it was during one of my squirrel pivot moments, which
Yep.
I didn't go with, stayed consistent, and it paid off. But yeah, I think we discussed this, like 2023 for like these 1090 contractors, like it was very slow. I
Yep.
stayed very steady. I think I went like 3 months without a new client.
Yep.
But then, like, towards the end of 2023, like in October, I got two. In December, I got one. And then 2024, we really hit the ground running. We revamped our internal processes. We use Clio now internally. And I really took a step back when I had those slow times in
Hmm.
2023 to make my agency like more scalable so that because I knew it, I said, you know what, when we grow, we need to be ready
Yep.
because growing pains are inevitable, but like if we can be on top of it. And so during those slow times, I, took a step back, got everything scalable, everything ready to go, and it paid off. I don't know if I manifested it or what, but yeah, 2024 has been great so far, except this week with my website crash. This
Yeah.
week was a bad week, but other than that, like we have done really well. Burke Paralegal Group side, we brought on some really great talent. I have like an all-star team. I am very happy with everyone. I know what to look for when I'm bringing people on. I am not taking any client that will hire me anymore. I have put down my boundaries. I am taking clients that want the support, and I'm taking clients that will, I don't want to say abide by, but respect my boundaries, respect the company, and
Correct.
not bring in a toxic environment. So I think that has made a difference too because my team's a lot happier. We have a great batch of clients, and I think that's been a game changer is that I have set my boundaries. I don't want to say quote unquote desperate, but I'm being more, like you said, your North Star client. I'm being more kind
Mindful.
of in line with what I want, and I'm not varying from it. And I think that has really helped a lot too.
Oh, absolutely. And that, again, it's so relatable. And this is why I need to get more freelance paralegals on this podcast to just say, like, look, like, this is so relatable. Everybody's going through the same stuff. And it's a lot of great things, but it's also a lot of realizing, like, we weren't born entrepreneurs necessarily. We were born paralegals, and we are having to figure out how to run businesses too. And we don't think of those things. It's like amazing all of a sudden. you recenter to your ideal client, everything you're doing is back to that ideal client and things start working again. There's so much truth to staying very true to who you're meant to serve and who your business is designed to serve.
Yes. And I was guilty of that by changing my prices in accordance to my client. And then I thought, no, that's not sustainable because
No,
I'm paying my paralegals a high rate because I want that good talent.
right?
I want that good talent to show off essentially like, hey, I have these amazing paralegals. You want these paralegals. But so if I'm going to pay them this much, and then if I'm going to take my rate down this much, that's bad business. And it took me, like you said, we have paralegal brains. We don't have business brains coming right out of paralegal school.
Yep.
It's something you have to learn. And it took me a while to realize, like, that doesn't, it's not mapping. Like, it doesn't work that way. And so, yes, like you said, once you put down your boundaries, once you are set in what you want, it is like a whole new world. It really
Absolutely.
is. It's amazing because you feel like you have to be desperate, but it's opposite because you
Exactly.
have to show you show up, you're confident. These are my prices, take them or leave them. People are going to want you more because they're going to say, well, you know what? She's confident. She knows what to do. She's got it handled. There you go. And like that with my content, to go back to content, I was more quantity over quality last year. And so I do like these cutesy posts, like happy chocolate day, things like
Yep.
that aren't substantial.
Right.
And then something clicked this year and I was like, wait, I don't want to just put fluff out there because it's going to get scroll on by. Like I want to show these potential clients that I know what I'm talking about. We are expert paralegals. This is what we can do because attorneys love examples. Like
Oh yeah.
they want you to tell them point by point what you can do for them.
Right.
You don't want to just say, and that was a mistake I made too, is I would say, we could do anything an in-house paralegal can do. And they're like, I'm attorney. I don't know what in-house paralegals do,
Yeah,
They
right. They don't get the lingo.
know. So I say, yeah, this is how we do calendar management. And now my business proposals, after discovery calls, I will say, during our discovery call, we touched on A, B, C, and D. Here's my proposed solutions. For A, you need help with calendar management. This is what we do for calendar management. This is what we can do. This seems to work. B, client contact. This is what we do. This is what seems to work. And
Right.
I've noticed a huge difference in how quickly I get a signed contract after that business proposal is sent and how much they give us.
Yep.
Because I have attorneys who are so like, I don't want to say stingy, but kind of nervous because they don't want to give too much.
Yep.
And the paralegal doesn't know what to ask for, because they don't want to push that boundary. So once I started laying it out for them and giving them exact specifics on what we can do, it's been a game changer, which is why what
Yep.
BPG has really relied on lately and what we have put out there is that we're personalized. We're going to tailor your support to your firm. Like
Yeah.
it's not one size fits all. There are vibe checks you have to do and sometimes it doesn't work. So that's why we can bring on other talent, other paralegals, move things around internally. But in the long run, like you're not going to need client A isn't going to need what client B needs.
Right.
So we really push that we personalize that we're reliable, efficient, personalized, and that's what we provide. That's what you get when you sign with BPG. You get that. You get backup, cross-trained paralegals. You get resources. All of that. But they want to hear specifically what you can do day to day to take the load off of them.
Totally. Yeah, and them specifically, not a
Right.
generic answer. And that just goes, I love that you're doing that in your proposals at the end. Obviously that's the best discovery call that could ever be, is the one where they just sit there and they're telling you all the problems in their law firm. And this is something that's hard for paralegals to shift into because they're so used to being employees. Now, maybe they've come from a background where a law firm really gives them a lot of autonomy and allows them to really take hold of cases and manage the attorney. Like that was my background. I managed the attorney didn't manage me. And I don't say that disrespectfully, but in the sense of like, I was on top of the cases and telling the attorney, this is what you need to focus on today. This is what we have coming up. These are the things I've prepared for you to be able to do that. And so when we're sitting in that discovery call and we're having those conversations and then we're able to tailor it, but it's shifting out of the employee mindset. It's shifting out of trying to prove yourself as a very good employee. Like you tell me what to do and I will do it. Yes, they want to know that. You need to start stepping into the consultant expert role in the services you're providing because you go freelance, you're really establishing yourself. And I don't care if you have 4 years of experience and you're very good and it's very focused or 25, you can still shift into this mindset. I had 5 when I started, right? And it's being able to demonstrate to that attorney that like I am a professional paralegal. You're hiring me to improve your law firm. Now, step into knowing and honing in on your expertise in the sector of law firms that you are experienced in, and don't be shy to demonstrate that and educate your attorneys and give them your true recommendations. Don't wait for them to tell you what they need. Let them vent, create your own ideas and your own off of your experience, and then give them your suggestions, your professional, my expertise suggests this, and you will blow their minds.
Yes, yeah, 100%. And to like piggyback on that, because like you said, you don't want also hiring these, legal assistants that they need. Like you don't want to have to manage another person. Like
Right.
if they can put them on W-2 or however they want to do it, yes, and then keep us for overflow work and extra projects, things like that. Because like you said, it's not going to be beneficial for anybody. It's going to
No.
waste resources on both ends.
Yep.
So on top of that, also to build trust, which I recently started doing, and I don't know why I didn't do it before, is I offer this like back office audit. And that's for like if I'm on a discovery call and they are kind of just here, there, everywhere, they don't really know what they need help with. They know they need help because there's not enough time in a day. I offer this. I'm like, you know what? Let me tell you about this. So
Yep.
I'll tell them, I'll say, hey, we can do a back office audit. This is us going into your system, your case management system, your invoices, your emails, or if you have a separate info at email, things like that, to kind of take a look at where you're at and give you recommendations specific. This is what you need to do to reach peak efficiency. This is where you need to bring support in. This is where you should use a case management system. This is where you should use, like automated, like Gavel or another technology I may recommend. And this is where you need an in-office person if necessary. And
Mhm.
by doing that, just like you said, it creates the trust. They get an itemized, almost like step-by-step direction on how to get their head above water again. And you
Yeah.
came in, you used your experience, your expertise, your skills to tell them exactly what they need. And
Yeah.
that has been a game changer too. It depends. If it's like a complete disaster, I will let them know once I get in. I'll say, back out and say, okay, I'm just gonna let you know I can spend X amount of time on it. If you want if you want more than this is the rate.
Yep.
But generally, I can get in there for 2 hours and know exactly what's going on. And by not charging them, it just goes to show them how much I want their firm to succeed rather than just bringing money in.
I totally. And see,
And
this
they
is
love it. They love that.
right. And I think the biggest thing that is helping freelance paralegals start to really expedite the growth of their companies is adding that consulting component. Because what do you think of when you hear the word consultant? You immediately think of trust, authority, expertise. They're going to change my life. And So building trust goes hand in hand with that consulting. And I've even gone as far to tell paralegals, even if nobody ever buys your consulting package in the first year, 2 years, still advertise it, still talk about it as if it's a true thing that you do every single day that you would do if you had clients, because it's a component of your services that plays so well with the actual paralegal work, because it also is building that authority, that trust, that expertise. So it's a no-brainer. My consulting company can come in and basically make a diagnosis on my firm and what needs to happen and create a customized plan. And then they can actually even go in and implement it. I don't have to go have my team do it.
Mhm.
You are literally like, you're so aligned. And that consulting piece can over time become one of your, what I call whales in business. It's the big ticket item that you don't sell a ton of, but it's also building that authority, in the thousands for your consulting packages. And eventually you'd probably get to where, your back office analysis, or what do you call it? Back office
Audit.
analysis, audit. Your back office audit might even become one of your free or very, very low paying parts just to get leads in the door. It's your lead magnet.
Yeah.
If
It's
it
been
takes you an hour, 2 hours.
yeah, and it's something I do personally too. Well, one, because I have control issues, but
Yep.
not because my team couldn't handle it, but because they're already busy. I'm not going to offer this free service or this, like you said, minimally paid service, and then say, hey, can you do this for me? Because one, I'm then paying payroll on it, and then I'm losing money. And then two, like I can go in, then I know exactly what they need. So if they
Yep.
do decide, hey, we are going to go with you, remote paralegal support will work for us. I know what they do and I can match them better with a paralegal on my team rather than having to go through a whole discovery call again
Yep.
to make sure that it's a good match. So
Right.
I take that on. And I think a lot of paralegals, and I don't know if it's because we work with attorneys who are, licensed professionals, but paralegals are professionals too. Like
Right.
paralegals, there is a wide range. There's entry level, there's experience, and everything in between.
Yep.
But you can be an expert paralegal and you need to like capitalize on that. I have
Yeah.
clients in every area of law because I match them with expert paralegals in that area. You don't have to know everything,
No.
you have to know people.
No.
And so by bringing on the right people to match with that, boom, golden, and that's done.
So you're growing with your business as you're bringing in more people, and yes, you love that paralegal work, and I could tell it's hard for you to, let it go completely, but you're becoming the consultant, the expert, the placement specialist.
CEO of my company. I do help one attorney. But she's honestly like has one or two clients left because she's moving out of the industry altogether.
Mhm.
So I'm just with her till the end, right?
Yep.
We have those people. So, but now I am the CEO. I'm looking at bigger picture. I am
Yep.
doing the consulting work. I'm doing this back office stuff. I am thinking of ways to, I don't want to say stretch, but more like expand. Like, let's bring on different revenues. Even if it's not a source of revenue, like let's bring on different ways to get our name out there. Like
Yes.
I have been working on like a YouTube video series that kind of goes along with like for paralegals and even
Right.
attorneys, right? Like how to do your trial notebooks, very simple things like that. That there are some out there, but I don't have to be the best at it. But if
No.
I'm out there, I can put it on my website. I can put it on Pinterest, get my name out there to show these attorneys like you can trust me. I know what I'm talking about and I control my team and my team knows what they're talking about. And so I think that is the biggest way to bring someone is that trust has to be there, which I circles back to what we talked about earlier where you're showing them that you don't need their business, you don't want their money, you want them to succeed.
Yes.
And you're gonna tell them what it takes to succeed. If it's with you, that's great. If not, that's fine too.
Mhm.
Maybe in a couple of years they'll come back to you, and it's just you have to stay present and you have to build that trust. You have to get your name out there. And all of that combined, give it, stay consistent, like you said, give it a couple years, and it's gonna be like a game changer. And so
Yeah.
that's kind of, I stuck with the 1099. It's paying off now, like it's scalable. I'm bringing new clients in, I'm bringing new paralegals in regularly. I mean, obviously, everyone would like it to happen a little more than it does,
Right.
right? You always
Right.
say, if I have one more client, I'll do this, but
Yes.
it's always gonna be that.
But I do want to say it. Thank you so much for coming on and sharing. I condone freelance paralegals that are willing to just give all of their goodies out on publicly and help this industry grow without expecting anything in return. That's so awesome to me to see more paralegals building up other paralegals, and the industry just becomes better as a result, and we all win the more we rise each other up. Is there any last little word of wisdom or words of motivation you want to get if somebody listening right now that doesn't know about freelancing or thinks they want to give up or they're scared or anything motivational for them to hear?
Oh, that's a lot of pressure. I will say, like we discussed, be consistent. You can do it. Anyone can do it. As a paralegal, you automatically have a marketable skill. This niche is completely underserved because it seems like, with like you and Lawfecta and everyone just kind of starting it up, I was a couple years behind you. So you guys kind of paved the way. That just keep going, reach out to others. It's not a competition. Find, paralegals that you can talk with, freelance paralegals that you can talk with, and kind of bounce ideas off of, and just, stick with it, because it's going to, in the end, whether it's your original 1099 support or consulting or courses, like in the end, it's going to take you where you need to be and where you're meant to be. But you just have to stay consistent and stay true to like your why and your ideal client. And I think, and don't be afraid to hire people. Everyone
Right.
needs help.
We all need help, probably
We all
more
need
than we
help.
like to admit.
I actually split an assistant with another one too, because
Oh yeah.
I don't need 40 hours for an assistant. Someone else doesn't need 40 hours assistant. So we each have 20 hours for an assistant,
See,
and it,
there you
it works
go.
out
You share
perfect.
it. Yeah. No, that's wonderful. Well, thank you so very much, Katie. There's so much value here for everybody. And I will link up all of Katie's contact info below if you want to go check out Burke Paralegal Group, or, maybe even submit your resume to be considered in the future, somewhere to her or to her team. And until next time, everybody, thank you so much for listening, and we'll see you next week.